Miles Brent sighed to himself as he laid on the hard floor. This, this whole situation had him all but helpless, and after the initial panic, rage, and the entire emotional gauntlet that followed, he had grown pensive and considerate. Now his mind was running cold instead of hot, and he thought and recalled. The situation is easily summarized. He was one of the basic janitors that was being brought along for first contact. Technically second, but first face-to-face contact with alien life. Turns out that Earth and the entire solar system is smack dab inside some hellish patch of space that the Star Trek nerds had gotten everyone calling a negative space wedgie. Mostly because there seemed to be about 1 million different names for it, usually about 50 per alien language. So may as well start giving it a few of our own. Now what's the wedgie do? It completely screws up almost every law of physics needed for FTL and most of the basic ship systems required. Artificial gravity? The wedgie says no. Efficient life support? Wedgie no likey. Proper astrogation? With the wedgie, you can't even trust your own eyes. Apparently, the creme de la creme of the wedgie's effect is the ozone layer, which the other races call a naturally developed planetary disruption field. Rare in the galaxy and has all the effects of the rest of the wedgie concentrated and wrapped around our little blue ball of a planet, making the advanced technology needed extra impossible. About 3 years ago, the alien equivalent of the United Nations had managed to get a probe to Earth and start up contact with a very primitive AI that had been manually decoupled until a basic clockwork timer had plugged it in. They did this because their laws stated that anyone lost in anything like a wedgie was owed at least a rescue attempt by law, and that law had recently been bent in such a way that we counted. Anyways, the AI program, it was the alien equivalent of Reader Rabbit or some other child education game designed to help create specialized ships to get out of the wedgie. First problem was that trying to get anything with the engines needed for crude FTL through the ozone layer made a really, really big bang. We'd been warned about this from the program, so that first flight had been unmanned just to see how big a bang it would be. Most of the people that looked at it directly needed experimental optical surgery to see again. People like me that saw it through a recording were blinking spots out of their eyes for hours to come. Still, it was really neat to see a double-sided mushroom cloud. To cut out more of the bullshit, we built the thing in space and developed slingshot railguns with the help of the AI tech to throw things into orbit. Orbit to cut down on cost. The way down still has a doozy of a first step, though. Then came manning the big clunky beast of a ship. The program stated that for proper first contact, they wanted a large variety of every type of human around, so a lottery went out to each and every major population center, and I signed up. I got lucky and they gave me my training. I'm called a janitor, but I'm also trained as a mechanic, soldier, and diplomat to some extent. A few friends I made during basic had joked that if we were separated or got bored, we had everything we needed to start our own rebellion on an alien world. Considering we were in gunsmithing class at the time, I had to agree. My role on the ship was to sit on my hands and hope to never need to come off them. The Dauntless has thousands like me, each one trained well enough to take over for an actual engineer, soldier, or diplomat. Though to be fair, the diplomatic training was mostly a crash course in the standard trade language that we didn't pass until we could go through an entire day being monitored without speaking anything but galactic trade. After that, there was required reading on numerous political texts with some final grade essays and 1,000-question quizzes that you had to get 90% or get sent for remedial training, which I had to do, twice. Things had gone well at first. The Dauntless held up well, and the experimental technology, as well as the old standbys we were already familiar with, kept us safe and sound through the wedgie. Then we broke through the edge, and the ship nearly plowed through an observation post. After that slight debacle, we began to straight up sail through the cosmos as we brought the separate pieces of the advanced equipment together, and the entire ship went from a gravity-less pain in the ass into a comparative luxury hotel with warp drives. We soared among our fellows for the first time. The scuttlebutt on the ship said that most of the aliens speaking to us through the comms not only looked humanish, but also gorgeous. Babes for days. Star Trek had gotten something else right. Then the pirates hit. Turns out that Galactic UN was just as useless as Earth UN, no standing army of its own, and no official power. a massive advisory board with their heads up their asses and hoovering up the taxes. The escorts were basically the Salvation Army, and their own laws hadn't given them permission to teach us about weapons and armor. Our ship was basically a giant flying piece of armor due to the ablative plating needed for the wedgie, and we had snuck aboard a lot of missiles, guns, and torpedoes for our own paranoia. But when a battle fleet of raiders a few hundred strong drop on top of you, it really doesn't matter how much metal you've got or how much bigger you are, they're going to get at least a few drops of blood. Which leads to me. One of those few drops. My military training had given me the option of specialization, and I'd picked sniping. The idea of getting to play with one of the big guns that can still be used for something other than a war crime had appealed to me. The training where I had to shoot the thing with pinpoint accuracy while balancing a fucking coin on the gun was annoying as hell, though. This meant that when the boarding torpedoes that hit the Dauntless started puking out giant metal beasties, I quickly put my baby together, loaded up my favorite caliber of fuck you, and took just the right amount of time I needed to completely ruin a pirate's day. The hallways turned it all into a turkey shoot. Their weapons were effective for about 10 meters, and a range that short against my gun was just insulting. I managed to get about a dozen shots off, 3 confirmed as kills, and the rest opening the idiots up for those with more close-range weaponry. The shotgun boys really had fun with face-to-face, and the grenadiers were pissy that they couldn't use their babies in the ship. Standard troopers had a standard good time, basic bitches. That's when the second volley of torpedoes came and opened up the wall to my immediate right. It bounced me off the one opposite, and by the time I could put 2 thoughts together, I only had time enough to look some energy weapon right down the shaft and eat a face full of electricity. I woke up in this tiny cube with a reinforced door worthy of a bulkhead and cool but not cold air. The vents are reinforced, magnetically sealed, 2 meaning I can't rip them out, on top of the fact that I'm clearly being watched. I'd patted myself down to check for what I had been left with, my clothes, which included a Kevlar weaved under vest, my steel-toed boots with hidden knives, and that's about it. They'd taken my baby, my sidearm, backup revolver, and the few grenades I had on me. It's the revolver that's pissing me off. That gun had been a gift from my father. Despite his divorce with Mom being bad, he still had the names of my entire immediate family burned into the wooden grip, a way to hold my family close even light years away, all around a cheesy but sweet gesture. I'm going to get my chance to escape soon, and when it comes, I have to be ready. When I get tired of lying around and waiting for something to happen, I sit up with my legs crossed. Sort of. During the combat training, they drilled us on some weird Eastern way of sitting that lets you rise up fast and stay solid the whole time. A neat trick, but the unarmed combat part of training had been really lacking for favor of guns, vehicle combat, and the sheer time limits of getting the project off the ground. The wait isn't much longer, just long enough to make me really wish there was a toilet regardless of the camera. As I'm contemplating pissing in the corner, the door opens, and the first thing I see is the same sort of sparking taser rifle that tagged me before. So they're not here for bullshit. That's just as useful as being sloppy. Someone sloppy you can get around easily. Someone paranoid you can drive insane. I slowly rise up, examining the armor up close for the first time. It's either a powerful and well-made robot or power armor. Bulky and angular, the thing has no obvious weaknesses from the front. Maybe the head part, shooting it with a sniper rifle, had disabled if not killed the others. The guns if shot end up overloading and paralyzing these things, meaning they're not shielded against their own weapons, opening them up for all sorts of fun. A bit of a mistake, really. It's painted mostly dark red with patches of black that have skulls and crossbones for some godforsaken reason. There's what looks like a score tally across the left side of its chest, a chest that likely contains some kind of missile port, or the big guns for the way it sticks out.
Come, now.
It orders in a mechanical monotone, taking a step back and not giving me a chance. I step out, staring right at its head. At least I assume the bank on the top with a glowing red sensor line is where the head is, or at least where whatever is controlling this thing is seeing me from. A sensor line surrounded by reflective material, meaning I've got a sort of plan. There's another of the big stompy mechs with another sparky taser gun. It turns away from me and begins to move as the first one gestures for me to start moving with its weapon. I spot what looks like handholds in the back of the departing armor and can see a few seams, either for repair or to get a pilot in or out. It can still go either way, but I'm leaning more towards these things being piloted. I look over my shoulder and pay close attention to the reflection in the mech sensor. I keep pace with wherever they're marching me to as I give them the best lazy eye I can. It takes only a few moments before the weapon is raised at me, but I refuse to react. Just keep pace and keep glaring.
Stop staring over your shoulder at me.
The mech pilot orders. This easily confirms that there's someone either in there or remote controlling it. A machine would take a lot longer to freak unless you had a weird AI in control. In response, I turn around and start walking backwards, not missing a step and not losing pace. With both my eyes digging holes through the suit's sensors, I can almost feel the pilot start to sweat. Whatever they expected out of me, this was not it. Good.
Stop it.
The pilot orders, and I slowly shake my head.
Stop it.
They order again. Are they really cracking this fast? I double the glare as best I can. If I was in a cartoon, my eyes would be stretching out of my head.
Stop it.
They scream so loudly I can hear it through the suit itself and the speaker. There's a woman in there. The gun starts to spark, and I slide to the side. The blast of electricity hits the other mech, and I throw myself forward to power slide between its legs before turning around and climbing up the back with the handholds. The topmost one has a button in it, and it unlatches the panels in the back.
No.
The woman piloting the mech screeches in protest, flailing around and ripping a panel off the wall. My grip isn't all that good, and the moment the shock wears off, I'm dead, so I kick off and dash into the opening. Rather than fight a battle I'm slowly losing. My time in engineering training taught me what these are. A maintenance hallway. FTL-capable ships need a lot of wires and tubes going around for all the little systems that need to fire off perfectly. So many, in fact, that all the walls are pressed in by anywhere from a few feet to a few meters. Usually a few meters. This one is a meters version, and I have room to dash down the maintenance hallway. I reach the small bulkhead with a ladder that goes up and down the levels and quickly get myself down an entire ship segment. I seal it after me to buy a few more moments. Okay, now I'm in the guts of the place. I just need a map and a bathroom, and then I can really start raising hell. Thankfully, the bathrooms in this place are borderline human standard. A bit big with enough legroom in the tub to qualify as a swimming pool, but otherwise standard. Thank God for that. Zero-G toilets are uncomfortable and annoying. A vacuum up to your butt or dick when you're not in the mood to fool around is just weird. Getting into and out of the maintenance hallways is easy when you figure out the particular ship's latches and such. I get in good and quick and rush towards a nearby ladder as I hear a big stompy mech show up at the bathroom I was just at, and I get up to the next level. There's the slam of the panel into the maintenance hallway and some fast movement, and I know I was spotted going up. So I go back down and rush ahead. After all, if they think you're up, go down. If they think you're down, go left. I give them a trail more akin to the Gordian knot than anything else for about an hour before calming down and leaning out to try and find some place with either weapons or a map of some kind before ducking back in to do so again elsewhere. A few hours of poking around and avoiding patrols here and there, and I find myself near the front of the ship. Science fiction would tell me that this is where the helm and such is located. On the Dauntless, it's actually in the middle of the ship and behind so much armor that you have to shear away most of the vessel before actually getting to the command crew, life support, or engine controls. After a short time, I find one of the alien women going at a communicator under her breath as she activates it. I crack open the panel and get a glance in. It's some kind of quadrupedal dog woman. I don't know how better to explain it. It's like someone took a dog and tried to make a porn star out of it, but never bothered to get her to stand upright and only seriously feminize the face rather than replace it. The alien is still covered in fur, but is also in what seems to a patchwork business suit. A bandana keeps her absurdly long blonde hair out of her face as she sits down like a buck and adjusts her massive mane. Also, she's huge. If she stood upright, she'd be maybe 9 feet tall and ridiculously proportioned by any stretch of the imagination. There are discolorations in small straight lines through her gray fur, possible scars. I crouched down low with my right boot knife held ready, just in case.
Hello, Captain Lilpaw. I take it from your expression that the raid didn't go as expected.
Another woman's voice asks on the opposite end. This is getting ridiculous. The first 2 or 3 encounters being female only was odd, but not really worth noticing. Having nothing but female encounters with the official first contact over communications, the pirates that took him and now their sponsor, where are the males?
No, the ship was unexpectedly armed on top of the absurd armor needed for cruel space. The humans use kinetic and explosive weaponry with an obsessive fervor.
Captain Lilpaw answers with her entire frame drooping. Oh, that was unfair. Having a woman that looks like a puppy and a porn star at the same time as my enemy is a low blow.
What about boarding parties?
The sponsor asks. I can't see the screen past Lilpaw's enormous chest. If I wasn't planning on killing her, then this situation would be out of a particularly depraved porno. We're only missing the badly hidden zipper on the alien outfit for me to be Dick Nova, alien penetrator.
Everyone on that wretched ship was armed to the teeth. The fatality rating was over 90%. They reacted so fast, they were so well armed. The humans aren't here for peace. Their ship is military. Elite military, too. We only managed to get one, and the crazy beast is running rampant on my ship as we speak, taking an almost sadistic pleasure in confounding my hunters.
I see. And the rumors? Are they really?
The sponsor asked, trailing off.
Male? Yes. Almost every single scan we have and every picture we got during the failed raid was of a man. Even better, the one we captured is a man as well, a cute one. It took a lot of threats and even a few injuries before I had him thrown into a cell rather than dragged into some woman's bunk.
Okay, so we have some products for the meat market. Tell me, how close to being in season do you think he is?
So there's slave trade? Fuck. Well, damn, I really need my guns now, or maybe hers if it's not DNA encoded or something. The male thing I put aside for later.
He's in season right now. That's why I had to break a few limbs to get him into a cell, unarmed but untouched. The sheer smell of him still has my head spinning. He's so deep in season that half the crew are trying to follow their noses, and to make it worse, he's not stupid and is using the maintenance tunnels like a personal playground.
How did he get out?
We were transporting him to a film studio so we could get some good shots for a sale when he freaked out one of the guards enough to get her to shoot at him with her stun cannon. He dodged the zero-range shot, which hit the other guard, and then slipped between her legs before climbing onto the back of her armor and trying to get in, giving the girl a panic attack. Then he vanished. By the time she came to her senses, she saw that she accidentally tore open a maintenance panel and he was gone.
Surely you have some idea where he went.
We got a hint of him when a refresher was used about 5 decks away from his original cell, and a glimpse was caught of him by a patrol woman who had been heading to that one anyways. She saw him going up, but he tripped a sensor 3 decks down before deciding to bounce from one end of the ship to the other, like a child's toy launched out of a railgun. No escape pods have been launched. All shuttles are accounted for, and every weapon and suit is power-locked, but he's vanished. The only comfort is that he hasn't gotten away because his people are still talking about rescuing him through the bug we planted.
Lilpaw rants in frustration before rubbing a paw down her mane, panting a little as she does. I narrow my eyes at this revelation. They've got a bug on the Dauntless? Something else to look into.
Well, he's a typical male at least, stuck in a pirate ship, and the first thing he does is make sure he looks his best.
The sponsor says with a slight chuckle, causing Lilpaw to laugh.
I trust the ship is locked down, so you've got him pinned in?
Yes, every pod is keyed to our weapon keys, and the shuttles need not only a weapon key, but a password to activate now. He's not going anywhere but in front of the cameras then to a customer that will be giving up a planetary ransom for the first human slave on the market.
She says before taking in a gulp of air and fidgeting.
What is the matter with you, Captain? Pressure getting to your furred head?
The sponsor demands, implying that she herself is not furred. I have no idea if that narrows things down a little or a lot.
It's his pheromones. He must have passed by my cabin. She starts panting a bit before moaning. It's powerful stuff. He's in the peak of his season. How he can even move is a miracle. She groans out and I blink in confusion. Do they think that pitching a tent somehow stops me from doing anything?
Good. That just raises his price. Catch him and get him in front of the cameras. Then we can sell him as unique untouched goods. After that you can ride him as you please as recompense. The travel times alone to anyone's private collection will give him time enough to come out of season so no one's missing anything.
Thank you. Catch another 10 or so and I'll even let you keep one. Fresh faces on the slave market sell well, and I can be very generous to those who get me products like that.
The obvious brains behind this raid says to her muscle. Not that I can afford to underestimate Lil Paw here. For all I know, the second the call ends, she'll pounce on me through the wall panel. And with the way my luck is going, these broads likely eat their mates after breaking the pelvis. No way of knowing one way or the other, but I need a good look at the boss lady that Lil Paw has started some suck-up ritual towards. Luckily, there are a lot of reinforced pipes right behind me. No electricity running through them, and they're very well secured. Thankfully, they can take my weight as I climb up them and lean out to look through the slight gap as best I can. It's not enough, so I crack it open a hair further. The boss of this pirate captain is in a properly formal suit and has the camera set at an angle that's giving me one hell of an upskirt shot. It's clearly designed to make her look towering even on the small screen. I'm uncertain if her skin is pitch black or if she's got a really dark shade of some sort of fine fur. She's also got glowing markings on each cheek, bright yellow to match her glowing eyes. I'm not sure if they're natural or artificial, but it's a clue. Her proportions are just as backbreakingly absurd as Lil Paw's, if not more so. A human woman with those kind of proportions would be a freak of nature and barely able to stand upright without mechanical assistance. Any time on a trampoline would snap her back in half. I wonder if that could be used as some sort of torture implement against these aliens. I shake my head and refocus. She either has a strange hat on, or her species has long ears stretching upwards with more bright yellow glowing markings near the tips. There's a cat-like demeanor to her beyond the clearly female portions and clear rabbit ears, if they're ears. Very female as I can tell, the woman clearly wears a size or two too small for her undergarments. The suit is shockingly normal looking in creamy off-white, miniskirt, jacket, button-up, and a crimson tie. Strange things to be universal, but there you go. No earrings or jewelry I can see beyond a bright silver or maybe platinum ring on her left middle finger. A wedding band, a status symbol, a vanity. I need more information. High-heeled shoes in glossy red, another oddity, and I think I can see the outline of some kind of hidden weapon tucked in on each side of her jacket. Either that or the bra she's got on is as literal as the term industrial strength can get. It would have to be for those oversized melons. Best I can tell, this band of raiders is sponsored by a CEO of some company or another, so she can pocket extra profit and likely lean on her competitors and maybe even kill troublemakers in her own company. Shit, I'm in some kind of action movie, aren't I? Now the question is, am I the hero, the cannon fodder, or the hostage? It can go any which way, to be honest. I'm dealing with the equivalent of an insurance company whose head hires out a biker gang to make sure that his premium is bought then never used, plus slave trading on the side just to be extra evil. Hot alien chick or not, I'm putting a bullet in her. The call is cut off through Lil Paw's fawning, and she bats aside the screen before reaching down and moaning out loud. I keep quiet as I slip down, sheathe my knife, and slowly open the panel even as the alien woman pleasures herself into a puddle. So these aliens are weak to pheromones? Even the small amount of sweating I've been doing in this light cardio workout's been enough to reduce this woman into a moaning heap. I quickly case the room the moment I stick my head out. There's what looks like a computer terminal nearby with what looks like a small 3D printer or replication machine right next to it, and lucky for me, Lil Paw keeping herself busy and facing the wall opposite. Good enough. I slip into the room, completely inaudible over the sounds the woman is making. I do my best to ignore the absurd distraction as I activate the computer and smile. No password and no fingerprints or anything. It must work off proximity to her chip if it has any protections at all. And considering I'm maybe 2 of her body lengths away from the woman, it counts it as her accessing things. I turn off any volume and set things to text only. It's in galactic trade, which is good and easy. It's one of those languages that are easy to master but hard to learn. Once you've got its rules and most of the sounds down, you can slam your way through anything spoken or written on context. Ship outline. It's vaguely rectangle shaped with a wedge at the front with two large chunks full of engines in the back and a bunch of laser banks on both the top and bottom. A Jules-class interceptor, it's called. The registry has it as the Claw, and it's got a clear purpose to get in fast, hit hard, and get out before there's much hit back. From what I'm reading of its boarding torpedo tubes and comparatively weak armor and shields supports the frame's in and out philosophy. This thing is mean and quick, basically what my kind would call a Corvette, a flying sucker punch. Internals of the ship has this place near the bow. Apparently, I'm a few rooms away from the helm. Good to know. There are several armories, but no indication where my weapons are. That's annoying. The captain seems to get her second win in self-satisfaction, and I turn to shoot her a dirty look for a moment. Damn, woman, have some self-respect. A bit more poking into weapons and administration, and I smile widely. So the small divot in the wall next to the computer isn't a replicator or printer. It's a universal installer for access chips. With the captain blaring approval mentally due to her fun times, I have full access. Full access that lets me make an account of equal authority. One just for me. It's set up quickly, then I use the approval from my account and hers to first make it so that we cannot overwrite each other's decisions, then use the unending approval from her to help me make a new highest rank on the ship for myself with full override power. Now I just need to put my hand in the panel. A beam of light basically teleports the thing into the middle of my palm before the machine lets out a chime.
Welcome, Commander.
The ship says in a deep male voice and I freeze. The room is dead silent. There's movement.
Don't.
I say holding up a finger but not moving otherwise. This throws her off her game.
Don't what? How did you get in here? Why did it call you Commander?
Lil Paw demands.
I'm not doing that whole turnaround and behold the monster bullshit. Go back to your fun, now.
I order pointing down now. Still haven't turned.
Monster?
An alien creature that kidnapped me and is planning on selling me into slavery and likely a gruesome death on the torture table of some sick lunatic? Sounds pretty monstrous to me.
I reply, watching her from the reflection off the screen. She's pacing and possibly distressed. How this species evolved to the point of sentiency is beyond me. She's too bulky, and if she tried to crouch down, she'd crush her breasts. Hey, wait.
Care to answer a question? I'll return the favor, Captain Lilpaw.
I say, and she freezes.
You know my name?
She asks in a somewhat stunned tone.
I won't count that, but yes, I do.
I say, watching the reflection. She's completely still, but for her tail. It wagged when I said I knew her name. If she's like an earth dog in any respect, then I just gave her an endorphin rush.
What's your question?
What's with your proportions? They're appealing, but they'd get you killed by predators evolution-wise. Or is cosmetic surgery common?
What? No, we have to bulk up like this. It shows we not only have all the meat a mate could want, but are ready to bear children. In lean times, we slim down a lot, but with advanced farming and ranching, most girls are always ready.
That implies it's the females that seek mates out?
I ask in a slightly shocked tone.
Well, yeah. Isn't that normal? You only need one male to keep a small village pregnant and reproducing if he's in season. Doesn't it work like that with your kind?
It can, but the males compete with each other for the females. Now, what's your actual question?
I ask, turning around to face her as I cover the computer monitor. A few taps to turn it off and somewhat hide all the research I made. I need to make a dash, and I need to see her all the better. Her tail starts really wagging at the sight of the tent.
Is that for... I mean, what proportion of your kind is male? 1 per 100 as normal? 2 per 100? 3 per 100?
She asks, her voice getting lower and more salacious with her every iteration.
100 per 100.
I answer, and she goes still.
What?
Her tone is utter disbelief.
Equal chance of male or female at conception. I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters.
I answer, and her eyes go comically wide.
An entire world of hunks trapped in the middle of cruel space, the galaxy is a complete and utter sadist.
She pants, tensing up and shuddering. She takes a deep breath to steady herself, but apparently my pheromones are just that much of a whammy as she wobbles and pants. I take this time to casually walk over to the maintenance panel, open it up, and walk back in.
Hey, wait!
She protests as I close the door and move off. I rush past a bulkhead and close it behind me before listening. She thinks I went up. A reasonable assumption. I start walking away casually as I consider things. I now have full authority in the ship that can't be superseded by anything. Unless they've got some solid hackers on board, likely, then they can't keep me in or out of anywhere. But more importantly, the nature of her questions not only tells me why I've been taken prisoner, but also that if I was made of solid gold and left a trail of flawless diamonds as I went, I still wouldn't be half as actually valuable as I am. They won't risk anything damaging the merchandise. The stun cannons are likely as heavy and hard as they'll go. Now I have a plan. Time to get to work then.